Hey guys, it's Come Over Stranger Things, Season 2, Episode 3, The Pollywog, and I was definitely really looking forward to this episode. This season has really been impressing me so far, and this was another great episode. Now, I do think this was the weakest of the three, but that's not saying much because this is still a fantastic show, and a bad episode of, a good episode of Stranger Things is much better than a good episode of most TV shows, and this was still a great episode. I still really love what we got here. So let's just get in this episode because I definitely do want to talk about it. And I love the way this one starts off. We start off right where the last one left off, and we get what might be one of the funniest scenes to date where Dustin is carefully entering his home, and you can tell that, Claudia, his mother, she knows something's up. She has how trick-or-treating was. She notices that he's acting oddly and says that basically that, and his ghost trap starts vibrating, and Dustin claims that he rigged it with a motor to make it look like he caught a ghost. They both laugh excessively, and Dustin quickly goes to his room, and the way he was covering his tracks here was just a lot of fun to watch. You can tell that his mom was kind of just going along with it. She knows very well that something's up, and once he closes the door, he tells the creature inside the trap to keep quiet, takes his turtle out of its case, drops the little Pollywog creature into it. He drops some bits of candy bars to feed it, and once Dustin turns off the heat lamp, it comes out, chews on the candy, and names it D. Artigen. So Dustin goes to bed, and the Pollywog then starts growing, and I thought this was a really well done opening. I like that this episode, we focus more on Dustin, because, Dustin, Mike, and Lucas really were a team, but Dustin and Lucas didn't have a ton of development, and it looks like this season we're getting more into their characters, and I think that's definitely the right direction to go here. So we then go back to the past. We see 11. She watches from the shadows as Hopper puts the Eggo in the box. He goes to his truck, and 11 steps out, and he then wakes 11 up, and she turns over, refuses to talk to him for missing Halloween. He says that he's going to have to enjoy the Eggo breakfast on his own, and she sits down to eat with him, and he realizes that 11 did in fact visit Mike and warns that it's too dangerous, and he promises she'll see Mike in real life soon, and he's making progress with the government people. So he is under the impression that things are going to get better, and that right now she has to go on the run, but it's not going to be like this forever. I don't know if that's true, though. I mean, think of how much of a hot topic 11 is right now. Think of how wanted she is. She is, one of the most wanted figures in all of Hawkins, and everyone, is on to her at this point. Everyone wants to find out about her. She, like I said, she really is just pretty much on everyone's radar, and she telekinetically throws the Eggos at him and says that friends don't lie, and walks off to her room. So, she does not at all believe him. She knows that this is definitely going to last a lot longer because he's been saying that for very long. And at the buyer's house, Bob finally locates her car keys, and basically she asks Jonathan to take Will to school, and Bob says that he will do it. So Dustin then rides to the library, checks books on reptiles, and the librarian points out that he has already had 5 books checked out and can't check out 5 more, and he insists he's on a journey on the imagination, but the librarian refuses. He points over her head, and when she looks, he grabs the books and then runs off. So as Bob drives Will to school, he asks if Will had another nightmare, and I really like this scene because, like I said, I just don't trust the guy right now. He seems too nice, and this scene especially shows that maybe this guy isn't that great, because Will says that it wasn't. Bob tells him about how he was scared by a clown. He had nightmares when he was a boy, and he finally says the nightmares stopped when he stopped running and stood his ground in his dreams. And Will admits that it sounds easy. So while it sounds like, a pretty good tactic, just stop being scared, yeah, that's a good way to go. At the same time, the way things play out at the end of this episode, I definitely don't trust Bob, and I would not be surprised if a big bad reveal is very quickly coming. So at school, Max asks Lucas why they call Will Zombie Boy, and Lucas explains that Will disappeared for a week and tells her not to talk to Will about it, and I like how close these two are getting. It seemed like at first Max was kind of avoiding Dustin and Lucas, but it seems like over time she's really taken a liking to them, specifically Lucas, and I'm all on board with it. Like I said, I think she fits right in there because she very much, yes, she's on the same level as them, but she's not too much. She's not too scared or anything. She just fits perfectly in there, and I really am loving the work that Sadie Sink is doing. She's doing a great job this season. Bob then drops Will off, and Will goes into school. Some of the kids are staring at him, and in class, Will notices Max is staring at him, and especially now that she learned the story, she kind of looks at him differently, and this is one of my problems with the episode, is I did feel that Max's reaction just happened a little bit too quick. I mean, you find out this information, now you're going to look at him all weird. I mean, it just... something about that didn't work for me. I feel like she should have talked to Will about it, but she looks away when he glances at her, and Dustin then comes in late. He apologizes, tells the boys he has to show them something at lunch. He then turns and whispers the same thing to Max, and the ghost trap in his backpack then shakes, and Callahan and Powell then tell Hopper about the rotting trees that they found, and Hopper then draws out the pattern of trees on a map. He discovers it's centered at Hawkins' lab, so he grabs his coat and then leaves, and at the cabin, 11 sits and stares at the blank TV. She then blindfolds herself, but then yanks it off and walks to the door. So we go back to the past, and Hopper takes 11 to the cabin, explains that his grandfather used to live there, and he tells her it's her new home. He puts on a record and starts dancing, and they go to work cleaning up the place, and Hopper teaches her how to read Morse code, and she puts Eggos in the fridge. He sets up the TV. He then sets up a tripwire around the cabin and explains to Eleven that it will let her know if anyone else gets close. So Hopper then assures Eleven that the government men are not going to find her here, that she's completely safe, and he lays out the ground rules so that way she'll avoid detection. And afterwards, we then go back to the present. She leaves. She avoids the tripwires, and Steve is then playing basketball against Billy, and once again, I'm just not feeling the Billy character. He just feels really out of place here, and at this point, it seems like he's just there just to create some sort of a love triangle, because he says that he heard that Steve used to turn the school until he turned into a bitch, and he trips Steve, steals the ball, makes the shot. Nancy comes in, talks to Steve last night. She complains that Steve didn't pick him up, and he tells her that she got drunk and Jonathan took her home, and Steve reminds her what she said about the relationship being bullshit. So suffice to say, Steve is feeling a little bit, concerned about what she said. He's kind of feeling like maybe they don't have much of one anymore, which again is understandable. I mean, what Nancy said, yeah, it really does affect their relationship. And Nancy says that she was drunk, and Steve asks her to say that she loves him. A boy then calls Steve back into play. Nancy says nothing, and Steve tells her that she's bullshit and then goes inside. So he knows very well that what she said, yeah, that's true. I mean, she definitely was not lying, and she does feel that way about him, which I think is kind of true. I think she does have a liking for Steve, but I do think she cares about Jonathan just a little bit more than she does for Steve. That's just kind of how I feel. But in AV Club, Dustin then shows the others D'Artigen, Dart for shorts, and lets Max hold it. She quickly hands it off to the others, and they hand it off to Mike, and Mike then wonders what it is. Dustin goes through the books trying to identify Dart, and when they look at Dart, they realize that something is moving inside of it, and they turn the lamp on, and it tries to jump off the table. Dustin then catches it and points that lizards like heat and light, but Dart hates it. He figures that he discovered a new species. Will then stares at it, remembers spitting up the creature in his bathroom. He hears the creature's noises in the Upside Down, and apparently it seems like this might be the reason for why he's getting all these blackouts, not all these blackouts, but why he's getting all of these trips to the Upside Down, why all this weird stuff is going on with him, why he has all this PTSD. Dart is clearly a creature from the Upside Down, and while he may seem innocent, he's anything but that, and I think that's definitely something that, again, is a little bit worrisome hanging into this season. So Joyce has been working at the general store when Bob comes in with lunch. They eat outside, and Bob apologizes for overstepping the previous night. And basically he says that he likes her and everything that comes with her, and figures that he's connecting with Will. And Bob then points out his video camera was a bit dinged up. He went back and watched the tape, and it showed some older kids picking on Will during Halloween, and Joyce figures that it was just the Zimmerman brothers and promises to kill them, and Bob admires the fact that she fights back, admits that he struggled with bullies when he was a kid. Now he's happy to be dating her, and they kiss. And again, it feels too perfect. It feels like Bob is just the perfect guy for her, which is great. I want Joyce to be happy, but the fact that it's Sean Astin, and the fact that, he's just being so nice, and it seems like there's nothing wrong with this guy, just something about it really sets me off, and I don't know if we can really trust him. I think heading into the season, we should be just a little bit worried. So At Hawkins' lab, Hopper tells Owens that everything is dying in a 3-mile radius around Hawkins' labs, and Owens insists they have the portal contained. But Hopper suggests that there's actually been a leak and that they should be concerned. And he tells Hopper and his team to go out and run their tests on the area. And Hopper reminds Owens that he keeps things quiet in return for the government keeping the portal contained, and he tells Owens to convince him. So Nancy talks to Jonathan, who says that Steve told him to take Nancy home, and she wonders if she does mean what she said. And I like that she really is questioning this. Does she actually care about Steve, or is their relationship just simply that? Is it just bullshit? And explains that there's a weight she's carrying around all the time, and Jonathan says that he knows what she means. Will isn't the same, and I like this. These two are very much on equal terms. Like I said, Jonathan was kind of like the creepy kid last year, and now Nancy is just as messed up because now she's really gotten her frustrations out. You really do see how this has had an effect on her, and they very much are similar now. You know, they both have gone through tremendous losses. Even though Jonathan's has returned, Nancy's very well might not ever, you know, Barb may very well be dead, which I think it's kind of implied that she is, but basically, he figures that things can't go back to the way they were no matter how hard they try. And I think that, again, that really is the theme for this season. As much as the characters try, things are just not going to go back to normal. You know, things are going to be different, and they need to accept that. And Nancy asks if he's mad at the people who are responsible. And when Jonathan says that they're dead, Nancy isn't so sure. She feels that there definitely is still something out there. And a boy nearby then turns on his radio. Nancy confirms that Bob works at Radio Shack, and she then asks Jonathan if he wants to skip fourth period with her. So as 11 goes through the woods, she hears laughter up ahead. She sees a mother in the backyard with her child swinging her on the swing sets, and we go back to the past where Hopper asks about his mother, and 11 asks if she has a mother, and he says that she's not around anymore and goes back to telling her about his family. And I think the impression that I got is that 11 might not feel the way. 11 thinks that maybe this is her mother because she goes up to her, and 11 asks her where school is, and the woman asks where 11's parents are. And 11 then swings the swing with her mind, and when the mother glances over, 11 then slips away. So I think 11, you know, she really isn't believing much of what Hopper is telling her. You know, I think as much as she wants to, he just really isn't being very trustworthy, and I think she really wants answers like ASAP, and I think, you know, she's going to do whatever she can to get them. So Joyce then goes home, discovers that she can't play the camera video on her VCR. She calls Bob and asks how to view it. He tells her how to hook up the camera up to the TV, and once she does, she hangs up, plays the video, watches the older boys taunting Will, and she sees the outline of something in the background, gets some paper and trace it, and she realizes that this is the creature in Will's sketch. And after school ends, Mike finds Will. Will says it's about darts, and Dustin, Lucas, and Max then take the ghost trap to Clark. Dustin insists his discovery. Mike and Will then run in and say that it's a prank. He grabs the ghost trap and tells his friends that they have to go. So Billy and his girlfriend then wait for Max, and when she doesn't show up, Billy figures she can skate home, tells Vicky that Max isn't his sister, and I'm like, what's going on here? I mean, obviously, we've seen that she is, so I don't know. I mean, I think Billy's just kind of being an asshole at this point. It's just, again, I don't see the point of this character. I don't really know why he's around, but the boys go into the AV club, locking Max out. Will explains that what he heard in the Upside Down matches the noise the dart makes, and Mike suggests that Will can somehow see into the Upside Down, and they figure the dart is from the Upside Down, and Mike wants to take him to Hopper. So Dustin objects, insisting that they have a bond, and Max starts picking the lock on the door. The ghost trap starts shaking, and Dustin then opens it. Dart has grown very much. It sprouts legs, and Mike tries to hit it with a mic. Dustin stops him. Dart then jumps off the table just as Max opens the door. It crawls off down the hallway. They go after it as Dustin yells at them not to hurt him. For whatever reason, Dustin feels that, you know, Dart is fine and that they should not hurt Dart. And Nancy and Jonathan arrive at the Wheeler house. Karen sees them. Jonathan says that they're studying, and Nancy claims that her Walkman broke, and that's why she has a Radio Shack bag. So they nervously excuse themselves and go up to Nancy's room. She calls Mrs. Holland, and when Mrs. Holland picks up, Nancy tells her she hasn't been honest about what happened to Barb, and She tells Mrs. Holland to meet her at Forest Hills Park the next morning, and the government agents at Hawkins' lab are also listening in. So now it seems like they have the information that they want about Barb, and, they're going to somehow track down Nancy's conversation with Mrs. Holland. Now, how this is going to work, I don't know. But basically, the government scientists then collect samples of the rotting pumpkins. Owen tells Hopper that they'll run the test, and he asks Hopper to keep the area clear for them. Power then radios Hopper and says that he's got a report on the Russian girl from the mother, and Hopper tells him to stay there and then drives off. So 11 goes to the school, sees Mike's bike in the rack. She touches it and then goes inside. I'm like, holy shit, this is the moment. But right as she goes in, they just miss Elle. We see he searches the school for Dart and he just misses her, and I'm hoping they don't do this. It is a little bit cheesy, but I like the way they're handling it. I understand they want to keep her as far away from them as possible, so Lucas then barges into a classroom. He apologizes to the teacher and quickly leaves, and in the gym, Mike sees a door open and close and goes to check it out. He grabs a broom as a weapon, searches the locker, and finds Max, and Max says that she's looking for Dart, and Mike tells her to go home, and he finally basically tells her how he feels. When she wonders, why he doesn't like her, he tells her that she's annoying and that they don't need another party member. He really wants nothing to do with her, and he mentions 11 and says that she was in their party but moved away. Max suggests that she could be the party zoomer, and maybe she could possibly replace her, but it's clear that's not what Mike wants. He's not interested in Max replacing 11. He just wants her back. And Will then goes into the bathroom. He hears Dart's noises. He looks into a stall and finds Dart on the floor, calls to the others on the radio. Will tells Dart that he won't hurt it. The creature then snarls at him, and when Will then runs outside, he finds himself, he's again in the upside down. A blackness flows. We see a blackness is flowing down the hall. Will then runs outside. 11 hears Mike and Max talking, peers into the gym. Max then skates around Mike. He reluctantly smiles, and 11 then telekinetically knocks Max off her skateboard. Mike helps Max up, and when she describes what happens, Mike goes to the hallway, but 11 has gone. So I don't know if 11, is trying to get these two to bond, but I think that's kind of what's going on there. I don't know if she detects a little bit of jealousy there, but Joyce calls the middle school, asks the receptionist Doris to transfer to the AV club where Will is supposed to be, and Doris says that Clark already left for the day. Joyce then hangs up and drives to the school. Dustin arrives and finds Dart. Dart then jumps into his hands, and when the others arrive, Dustin hides Dart under his hat. He says that Dart isn't there and maybe Will has it, and Mike wonders where he is. Will remembers what Bob said about not running. He turns, faces the creature, yells it to go away, but we see that that's not at all the case. It sweeps one enormous tentacle right into Will's mouth, nose, and eyes, and that is the way this episode ends. So again, like I said, guys, another really great episode here. There was a lot of stuff that I definitely really did enjoy about this episode. First of all, once again, no matter what happens, I just really don't trust Bob, especially after that last scene, knowing that Bob, told Mike to, told him specifically to talk down to the creature. I don't know if Bob knew that the creature was going to retaliate and that wasn't going to do anything, but it was completely ineffective. I mean, it did absolutely nothing to him. And so again, I really don't trust Bob. I mean, sure, you could make the argument that he just didn't know, but I really, after something like this, I really don't trust him. And the fact that Nancy as well, they went to Radio Shack, I don't think that's just to get a Walkman. I think she honestly is suspicious of Bob, and why shouldn't you be? He just seems way too nice and way too perfect for Joyce, and I just feel like there's something off about Bob, so we'll have to see really what that's all about. As far as things go with Dart is definitely not good. Dart is definitely from the upside down. I don't know if there's a way to harness him and control what he's doing, but Dustin seems to believe so. Dustin seems to believe that he needs Dart, and I'm looking forward to seeing really where that's going to go. As far as Mike and Max, I like where this is going. I like that these two seem to be getting a little bit closer. It's clear, Mike has now addressed that he doesn't want Max around, and she's kind of embracing it, and I like the fact that 11 is, to me, it seems like trying to get these two closer. I know she's trying to get them together romantically, but I think she genuinely does care about Mike, but I think she also wants him to move on, and I think that's kind of what she's doing there. We saw that, she just missed Mike in that one scene. I did like the way that was played out there. As far as things go with Nancy and Jonathan, like I said, you can tell that Nancy is really starting to crack. It's really starting to get to her. She's now basically just as vulnerable as Jonathan was, just as weird as Jonathan was, and I'm looking forward to seeing really how that all does go down. I think that definitely is going to be very interesting. And overall, guys, that's really it. I definitely am really liking the season overall. Like I said, I'm really loving where the season's really going. Also, the fact that Harbour's not being 100% honest with 11, I do think that there definitely is. That's also suspect. I think there's definitely something that he knows, but for some reason, he's not telling 11. I think she's really going to get to the bottom of things very soon. We'll have to see the way that plays out. Overall, guys, this was another really fantastic episode, and I am going to give Stranger Things Season 2, Episode 3, The Pollywog, a B+. So over, guys, for this episode of Stranger Things. The most guys saw this episode overall. Left your thoughts on it. Like I said, really enjoying the season so far. I am going to try to hopefully finish the season next week. I can't make any promises there, but I'm going to try to do that as best I can. But that's my review. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys in my next video, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.